we're going to take a second to talk about the Penguins because there's been a lot of smoke around that organization and what Kyle Dubas is doing. It's been rumored that everyone's for sale besides Crosby and Malkin. I've even heard that Letang's name is not completely off the table, which would be very surprising to me. Um, things haven't gone as planned. Jari got sent down to the AHL. This team has been really bad in the month of January. And then just when you think like everything's coming to a crashing, burning disaster, they're still kind of in that wild card spot. And then last night, Monday, Raquel is out of the lineup for personal reasons, leading the team in goals. They go into LA. They're on a West Coast swing right now. They've got the LA Fire Department hats out for warm-ups. I'm like, we are going to lose by 5 goals. And what do? They win 5-1. And I woke up and I checked the score app. I was like, how on God's earth did this happen? And it's one of those things where like this team just won't tank it all the way. They give you just enough hope, and it's a frustrating job for Dubas, I can imagine. But
I'll tell
yeah,
you what, I
there's
was watching a little bit of that game and it was 3-0 and then it was I believe or no, maybe it was
I
final
don't
score
know.
was 5-1, you said?
I was in REM cycle by the time the
It
first
so
period
it
was
must have
over.
been it was 2-0 and then it was 2-1. It really seemed like the Kings were buzzing and out of nowhere they just scored Penguins again, like a garbage goal at the end of the period, and from there it was over. But I was equally dumbfounded. I was like, why are they winning this game?
And look at Patterson. That's a guy who's on defense where, you know, teams need depth defensemen going into the playoffs. Think he's going to be probably the first one to go. I'd be shocked if Rust goes, although I've heard his name is in there too. We'll see what Bunting has to offer. Just got him last year in that trade with Gensel. What do you guys think? Like, you think the Pens should just completely fire sale it?
Yes. Kind of, yeah. I mean, I here's the thing. Everyone's been criticizing Dubas, and you and some other more diehard Penguins fans have been kind of defending him, saying, it's more Hextall that left him with this pile of shit to work with. And it's like, I don't disagree with you, but if that's the case, I would like to see Dubas put his cards on the table here and prove he's a good GM and go out and get out of some of these issues. Like ship off some of these dudes and do the rebuild or do the retool or whatever he wants to do. But I still don't think maybe he's blameless right now, but if he doesn't get something out of some of these dudes soon, then I think you start to be able to blame him and be like, all right, dude, well, yeah, you were handed a pile of shit, but you're not doing anything with it.
I think that's a great point. I think you can start to have that point of view now, and I wouldn't really fault you for it. I mean, his big move was Eric Carlson,
Hasn't worked
and
out. Hasn't worked out as
there's not
planned.
really anything else that he's done, And I know that that's me not
He
being in an
signed
NH.
Jari too, didn't he?
Correct.
He
Yeah.
signed Jari before he like signed the deal with the Pens to be the GM, and then the first thing he did was sign Jari because he needed a goalie. And
Yeah.
Jari was up. I get it. Like,
I
not a
you know,
good move.
I would start with the defenseman. Like if I
Carlson
was
Patterson.
yeah, and Letang too. I know you don't want to hear that, but like I'm Ty Pennington, move that defenseman. Like just move him,
Yeah.
dude. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're probably going to get more from a return from him than you're going to get out of the rest of his career being a Penguin.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, I'm
I
slowly
do think right now you could still get a pretty good. Somebody would overpay for Chris Letang right now.
100%.
I'm slowly
And they
becoming
wear blue and
more
orange.
I'm slowly becoming more okay the worse that we get, where I'm like, you know what, this was fun, but
Yeah.
like let's move on. Like I want the youngsters, I want some youth, I want some energy.
Oh,
I
it'll
look,
be hard, but like, I mean,
yeah,
when we traded Orlov, I was like, this is actually like one of the hardest trades I've ever had to deal with as a fan. Like that one really fucking hurt.
yeah,
And like not even a year later, I was like, oh, I get it. I was like, I see the vision. That was really
Yeah.
fucking smart.
yeah. I do kind of understand that. So, you know, trying to think of a team who could take Raquel. Like I don't know who's a like Winnipeg. I think would be a
It's
great
a good
one.
one.
That right? Like they're gonna make a cup push.
And I think Nick is dead on with a team that could use somebody like a Letang, freaking Oilers.
Yep.
Like that would be
Montreal would make a lot of
There
sense.
sure,
you go.
sure.
Consider he's from there, but like I think about Raquel, like he could get us a bigger haul than Gensel did because he's got term on his contract
True.
and he's having a career year. Like, could we get Brandon Yeager back from Winnipeg after we just traded him for McGroarty? Like, get it back for Raquel? I don't know. Like, let's we could have Team Canada and Team USA's captains for back-to-back World Juniors. I
There you
don't know.
go.
But like we need some youth to come in. The Tomasino move's been good. I love the Cody Glass signing. More of that kind of stuff. Like if those guys can
Glass
hit
had
their
a goal
ceiling.
last night, I think.
Yeah, he's been great for us this year. Brian Russ would also get an absolute haul, but like I don't know what Sid will tolerate because you can't just look at him and say, okay, fuck it. We're not
Yeah.
even giving you a
That
chance.
is the hard part of the puzzle, especially, we were talking about that Caps article from Wyshynski that we read today, where they're talking about the promise Ovi made and the promise Ted made. And
Yeah.
it makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes with Crosby. It's like, he probably expects a certain thing. And I know that they've changed GMs in the last couple of years, but with ownership, I would imagine he's had some conversations.
Yeah, I think, you probably, if you're Dubas, get to a point where you're like, look, Sid, I can do Penguins last ride with the trio, or I can do attempt to retool and get you another cup, but I can't do both. So you got to pick which way we want to go here.
I
And
gotta
and
oh, you
go
go.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I gotta imagine when he signed the extension, these conversations happen. I just don't know like what to
I
do.
I do think though, like Wit from Chicklets kind of nailed it today with what he said. Like it's not the same situation as Ovi where we know Ovi's got the rest of this year and he's got one more year and we're pretty certain that's it. Like we're
Yeah.
pretty sure he's retiring after that. Crosby has showed no reason why he can't be like closer to like a Gordie Howe type. I don't see any reason, at least right now, that he couldn't play 5 more years or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think maybe if he were willing to say this year is a wash and maybe next year is going to also not be ideal, maybe we sneak in, but we might be kind of bad next year or something like that. I think that is probably the Pens' best bet is to try to get him to agree to kind of say this year's a wash, next year don't get your hopes up. And after that, let's try and get you one more if you're willing to stick around for, maybe a year or two after that. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad thought. It's gonna be a wild ride to the finish.